Hello, my name is Alan Barr. I am a product manager with a mortgage company. Recently, I've attended a program through Reforge. They're a community of product management, product strategists focused on many different types of businesses, B2B, B2C, many other combinations of letters that I don't really know what it means. My focus is on internal tools, and I'm using the techniques and practices that Reforge is teaching us through the product strategy program. They do offer other programs to help me make a better product for my internal developers. The product I'm building is DevLab. I've written lots of blogs about it. There isn't a lot of public information because it is an internal tool, but I have big aims for the future to be able to build a system that makes people's lives easier, because software development is needlessly complicated and difficult to get things done. So that's where we're at. So today I'm going to show you some slides I've created for a couple weeks of the program, and I'm going to continue to refine this over time so that when I do present it internally to my company, it makes some sense and it is instructive to them. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm going to show some slides and we're going to walk through that. And I hope that it's all going to go off well the first time and I don't have to edit the video. But who knows? It probably won't do that. Okay, so you can see my slides here. Reforge, product strategy, and internal tools focus. Reforge is focused on post-product market fit. The reason that is important is because they're not helping companies that are going from 0 to 1. What they benefit you with the material benefits you when you have a product that is already in existence and is in demand, and that you can mature and grow it using their techniques. So they provide a variety of them. They're focusing on acquisition, retention, and monetization. I'm not going to cover a lot of monetization because I can't charge people internally for my product. So I didn't really cover that in this material. The first week was about general product strategy and feature strategy. The point of it is to be specific about what you're trying to do with your product, making sure that you're aware of what's coming soon and then what the long-term, guidance for your product is going to be. And that everyone you're working with understands what you're doing, why you're doing it. The reason that's important is because if you work on a big initiative for a long period of time, people swap in, people swap out. It can become easy to get lost in the details of what the work is and what's going on. One tool they give us is the qualitative feature map. And the purpose of this is for you to drill down on the strategy of a specific feature and how it enhances your product. On the far left side, you have some larger groupings of the questions and what they're meant to answer. So the big focus is on, what is the size of the population of that feature, which it will impact, it will improve for people. The user value, how does it help them? How common is it? How bad is the experience if it's not fixed? And then what's the business value long-term for your product if you do make this change? So I applied this to my own couple items that I've seen in my backlog. I've just did something that I wasn't supposed to do. Okay. So I'm blocking one of the things. It's okay. You'll see business value there. So what I really focused on was the documentation catalog here. And the documentation catalog is this idea that if you provide a way for users to explain, communicate what their product is, what it does, where it's going, that they'll want to contribute and they will help people that are new to the product onboard quickly. From what I've seen, and this could be by company, not most people are not engaged writers. They're not great writers. It takes a lot of effort. It's a little bit different thought process than writing code, and the incentives are not always there for people. While many people do benefit a well-written tutorial and article, it takes a lot of time and effort, and those go out of date very quickly if features develop over time. So you can see here, I basically analyzed who it would impact, how beneficial it would be to the product. It's a nice to have, unfortunately. Another feature is this concept of a dependency updater, and this does exist in GitHub in some fashion, which is called Dependabot. We could have this for our product, where many teams have lots of software. Over time, it accrues, and we just don't have time to get to it, to update it, to keep it in check. And this could be one way to make that easier for people to comply and to make sure that their software is up to the right standards. It's more of mitigating risk than it is a feature add, but it is one of the important facets we think of when we make software. Another tool they give us is called the TARS framework: targeted, adopted, retained, and satisfied. And the point of it is that you can use this to define a satisfaction over targeted score. So the idea is when you have a feature, you are looking at all your potential users and you're thinking, who is going to use this? Who's most likely to use this? For me, a lot of my features, I'm targeting software engineers that work in my company, and they're working on non-public internet backend APIs. They're not doing a website, a front-end website generally. They're not doing anything that a person could type into a browser from anywhere in the world and find. This is stuff that's internal. And then from there, it's focused on people that just do .NET Core. We have old things that are not that, and they can't use this platform, so they're not in that, which is great. And then a subset after that. So a recent feature that we did was event producing and consuming. And what that is basically is that you have a business thing happened, and you can definitely communicate that in many different ways, but there are some ways that are a little bit more standard, a little bit more resilient to problems, and we want to encourage that. So when I release this feature, I'm thinking, okay, most teams use this. It's probably going to be targeting a very wide group, and I'm hoping that the adoption is going to be high as well, and that if we improve it and it is well used, those users will be satisfied, and I'll keep track of those things so that over time I have a good idea of what individual features are really making a difference in the lives of the people using the software, and what are the ones that could be either improved or removed. They also give us a feature matrix. It's a 2x2 quadrant. You have your overperforming features, core features, project features, liability features, and they really focus on the liability features. Those are the ones that can hurt your product, but also could offer a lot of strategic value if you invest in them properly. The other features are maybe they're a little obvious. They're already existing in the product. It doesn't make a ton of sense to over-invest in them, though there might be some enhancements you can do. And then the project features, which help get the job done, but aren't really moving the needle for the users. The second week, we went into growth strategy, and growth strategy really excited me. I was bought in completely because it's exactly where I'm at with my product with DevLab. This is the product I want to grow, I want to see adopted, and it really changed my mind. It really enforced some ideas that I'd seen. I've looked at Nir Eyal's work of a habit loop, and I thought, this is really cool. I'm not really sure how I'm going to get this into my product, but I need to be aware of this model. It's really important. So in growth strategy, they focus on these different kinds of loops, and the point of a loop is that it's different than a funnel. The problem with the funnel model is that every distinct group that is interacting with the user is separate and distinct from each other, and they're not working as a team to enhance the product. And the purpose of the loop is that everyone is working together to enhance the product, to make it more valuable for users to return, to generate value, and to bring in other users. So we talk about the different kinds of viral loops. Those are very normal, natural, word of mouth, people telling their friends, putting it in the path of users to try and use, giving them incentives, gift cards, other activities to encourage the use. Content loops, this could be, for now, it's mostly me and my team generating tutorials, reference documentation, weekly news blasts, many different things, announcements in Slack. People are busy. They don't have time to read every single thing. Some people engage with video. Some people engage with written material. Some people prefer synchronous one-on-one training. Try it all. Try everything. See what sticks. Paid loops, I didn't really dig into that a whole lot. The one thing that I did talk a lot about with my internal tools study group was integration. Integration of products within the enterprise. And while this might not have been exactly what they were thinking with paid loops, in that maybe it's some other types of paid integrations, but I do see that whenever we can add another connection of data, for example, I want to have the access to information of who owns a database, who owns an API in the enterprise. It sounds so easy, so simple, ridiculous to even talk about that sort of thing, but it's a huge problem that we have today in that we just don't know really who is the source of truth or who owns a thing. It's complicated, it's difficult to keep up to date. So the dream is that in this one central portal in place, you can update it for yourself, and you get value out of updating it because now you know things and you are incentivized, hopefully, to continue to keep that up to date. And then over time, more and more integrations. I'm very excited about that, but it's maybe pie in the sky. So a loop, again, the loop is get the user to return. And they give a really great example in the material of what loops are when using like GitHub as an example. And I really identify with GitHub as my product is very similar in that fashion where we leverage a similar but different tool, but it does mainly the same thing. Is we're trying to encourage inner sourcing for our developers to interact with our platform and to add to it, to really have it become part of their process and encourage them to want to use it. So they really focus on optimizing loops, and there's 3 things that they cover, which is removing the bad friction, adding good friction, and then enhancing the throughput. I've kind of touched on a couple of those, but I'm going to include these here for my use case. So with removing bad friction, this is, in my product, I make it kind of hard to sign up. There isn't single sign-on for every little thing. The users need to contact me. They probably don't want to contact me. The users need to wait to get access to certain groups before they can do some work. If they need to use a database, they need to put in a ticket. Maybe in a week or 2, they'll get that database set up. It causes a problem. It's not ideal. So we're working through those things, but ideally, over time, we can make these things go away, as well as perception of it as not as solid as it could be. The good friction that we can add with the product is just better experience around the open API specification, better warnings when you're not really complying with the way we do things. We provide a new way of sending event data across the wire, and it's supposed to be a very standardized format, but I don't want to tell people go read the specification because specifications are quite long and people need something really simple to stay on the guardrails, and I want to provide guardrails. So that's a challenge that we want to achieve and solve for our users. Just make it real simple and easy just to do the right thing by default. In addition, there's other things like training modules, having the technology trainer give these units of work and practice for our developers to onboard, to get accustomed to new technologies that they may not be able to use in their day-to-day, and then just make it super easy to enter and update information in these platforms so that it becomes more valuable over time just really encouraging that platform strategy mentality. Enhancing throughput, again, to the platform strategy mentality, where in their models, they provide that loop of when I give a feature to my users, that person is a value receiver. That person ideally goes on to become a value generator for the platform. They've been so ingrained in this new model of I can do a pull request, I can do a merge request, I can, if I see a problem, I can fix it, I can change it. While we can't accept every single pull request because it may or may not be on strategy for the product, we do want to encourage a lot of collaboration because we just do not have that mindset established in the old platform. And we really want to leverage these effects of users generating value for the platform and then cueing others to also collaborate, to really share that message that like, I made it better, you too can make it better. In growth strategy, it covers retention metrics. I'm still thinking through what this looks like for my product for DevLab. But what I can see is that it's frequency of activity, and this is kind of bound by the demands and the needs of the business. Ideally, and for now, it's bi-weekly engagement. As they can come back to creating a new project on this platform, they do so. And then over time, it will be daily. Every day, the users will be going in there and doing their work as they're used to. The core behaviors I want to encourage and promote are getting the applications to production, validating the product ideas. Even though you didn't get to production, you at least learned very quickly whether your users were going to be satisfied with the app that you made, and you knew that and learned it faster while not having to wait. This would ideally benefit the web application developers and product owners over time, maybe other users. So retention is composed of activation, engagement, resurrection. And when we activate a user, we're talking about creating a new habit for them that relates to this core value proposition of the product. It's an internal tool, so it is a captive audience. It's something to be careful of. So it's not easy to lose someone, because losing someone, they don't have a lot of choices in how to do their work. So resurrection isn't so huge for me. But I do want to make sure that I'm keeping users at the forefront of getting activated, keeping them engaged with new features, gauging their opinions, their satisfaction, and that if they're upset or irritated with how the system works, that we are trying to solve it as soon as we can in a way that does generate value for the whole platform. So these are habits that I wanted to put at the forefront of my product. And in a moment, I'll show why that's important for the product. But when you think of activation, you're thinking of what do I want people to do differently than they're used to, because they might have ingrained habits that are not beneficial for my product and for the long term for their success. So you might think of, Excel versus Google Docs. Well, Excel is great. If you're an Excel wizard, it's wonderful. But if you need to collaborate and I want you to use Google Docs, well, Google Docs is going to be much better for collaboration. It may not be as fine-grained, great at all the things that Excel is, but if collaboration is key, then there might be a reason to change those habits. So that's what I'm looking to do with DevLab, is that I want to put these habits at the forefront of the users' minds when they get started. So I've created a tutorial that the users can work through if that's their thing, or they can watch an end-to-end video where I cover the majority of these things. But I want them to be successful. I want them to get that dopamine hit and that taste of success versus what they do today in the older platform. So they get the value of conventional commits because they didn't think about versioning, but just by prefixing their commit with what it is, a fix, a feature, breaking change, chore, etc., it communicates what the intent of that change to software was to their team, and then all the boilerplate related to getting the software out the door and what was in it is all automated for you. You don't have to think about those things. So really key. In addition, open API specification, working with that to update your contracts, because when you're at a volume of scale for creating APIs, Doing it by hand manually for things that are basically solved doesn't make any sense. So make it easy for teams to just copy paste from different locations the standard way of defining the contract for your API. It doesn't generate the perfect code. It works. We can enhance it. If you don't like it, send us a pull request, that sort of thing. In addition, many other features. I don't need to step through all these things. We just make it easier, make it at the forefront that you were successful, that you could do all the same work that you're used to doing, and maybe even more. You're able to iterate faster. You're able to put things in, get things out, all those things. One thing that they focus on is about queuing the habits to be achieved. And these are other kinds of loops that can occur, the environment and manufacturer loops. So for DevLab, we sent everyone hats. Everyone has a DevLab hat that they can wear in their house. Maybe they have a loved one that is wearing the hat. They're being reminded all the time about this product because they have hats now. I send weekly emails. That's a reminder. I post in various places, but who knows? There could be other opportunities. For manufactured loops, this could be a notification generated by your platform. It could be many different things, but it's something that you're sending out. It could be an email that I programmatically send. Maybe you don't want to rely on this all the time, but it does make sense. You do want to re-engage users. Maybe we could have, if a specific user has not participated in the platform for a couple weeks or a month, we send them a re-engagement email like, hey, what's changed? What's different? I'm not sure. We haven't really considered that a whole lot. Warm starts is something I'm really thinking about a lot. Is that previous list I showed you, how can I put it closer to the user doing their first experience with the product, that they achieve all those different things, that it was just so, that it was the golden path, that they were just trying to do what they were trying to achieve, and they hit every one of those points exactly as they had to. Another important thing to think about for use case transition is providing features that occur earlier. In the mortgage process, like maybe you only get one mortgage every lifetime or two mortgages. So it makes it really difficult to keep users engaged if you only see them once or twice. Provide more use cases. Think about ways that you can trigger your users to engage with you. And I think that's important as part of this platform, where while a user may not go there to create a new application all the time, they may go to learn some information about existing applications or to try something out, to just experiment on something. While it doesn't need to go to production, they can at least, in a low friction manner, create something and experiment with it, learn, and then move on with no cost to them, no waiting. I collect some additional information. It's a little obscured on the bottom left, but it's teams. So I'm trying to keep track of who's satisfied, who's not, what's going on with the platform. So we have a broad range of people and satisfaction. Some very satisfied, others less satisfied. It's okay. It's a very early product. Recent bad feedback was that there was a lot to onboard. It took a lot of time to get to that moment where they understood how to use the platform. I think the tutorial that I created can help, but developers are used to difficult experiences to get work done. I think that's just something that's very common and well known in software development, and it's something we can fix, and we will fix those things. So for now, we have one team, 6 apps in production. The other teams are experimenting. There are multiple use cases that have arisen organically through the product. We've had one user create basically a scheduled task inside of the APIs. We basically said, we're not going to make this API, we're not going to make any other use cases for now until we get to general availability in July of this year, of 2021. And the user made the feature because we weren't willing to budge on other use cases, and that happens, which is great. And I think we can learn a lot from those kinds of entrepreneurial acts. Like we really want to encourage that even though we don't have time to get to it, the audience, this broad audience of people we're serving, if they have the time and they're invested, get in there. Please help us. Show us what we could be improving about this product, and maybe we can pull that in or tweak it, augment it. All right. So that was it. I hope that was helpful. That was helpful for me to sum up a lot of my ideas that I've been going through this whole time. And let me just thank you. I hope that was instructive, and we'll see you next time.